guys, welcome back to the Leadership Series. This is Leadership Demands 3.1, and we are going to address leading is being a living sacrifice. We're going to see what that looks like and what Scripture says about it. So here we go, getting right into the Scripture. Matthew 24:45 to 47. The faithful and wise teach the Bible until the end. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. Philippians 1:21 to 24. Sacrifice included, leaders need to serve the church. For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. But if I live on in the flesh, this will mean fruit from my labor. Yet what I shall choose I cannot tell, for I am hard pressed between the two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to remain in the flesh is more needful for you. So as a leader, he's sacrificing to stay to serve the church, even though it would be easier just to go to heaven. Okay? The sacrifice, it's a physical living and sacrificing, because he's in prison, he's having ailments, and he's staying and going through those activities because it's better for the church. Okay? So let's look at the Greek. Needful. Essential, more necessary than what ought to be done according to the law of duty to be done, required by the condition of things. So more needful for you, which is because of you, for your sake, for your benefit. Moving on to 2 Timothy 2:3. We must endure hardships as a good soldier. You, therefore, must endure as good soldiers of Jesus Christ. So this one goes back to sum kukapatheia, which is all that basket of stuff and then suffering together. So let's read the definition. It is from two words. It is kukapatheia and sin. Okay? And this means to identify closely with. So it means to suffer together or suffer for another's ill treatment, to become a co-sufferer of hardship. Because we already know the kukapatheia is hardship. Colossians 4:12, laboring for you in prayer. Epaphras, who is one of you, a bondservant of Christ, greets you, always laboring fervently for you in prayers, that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. So his job, one of his jobs is just praying like around the clock for the people he's serving, so that they can stand perfect and complete before God. That was one of his actual directives. So in Greek, let's look at what that means. Laboring fervently, to agonize and struggle like engaged in an intense athletic contest or war. So this means he's praying and exhausted after, because he has poured everything into it. And that's how we're supposed to be doing it. It's not just like, dear Lord, thank you for me food. Have a nice day. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. I know that's how it is in TV, but in real life, you're exhausted if you're praying with intensity. James 5:7 through 11. Be patient, endure till the early and late harvest. Blessed are those that endure. The prophets are an example, and Job. God gave intended good with compassion and mercy. Here's the verse. Therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful. So we're going to go through the Greek on this because there's a lot going on here. Okay, so the first one is, therefore be patient, brethren. And that one is makrothumeo, which is long suffering under slow progress, and don't get angry. Then we're going to wait until we see the fruit, which is literal fruit of a plant, but it can obviously be used as figurative, as the deeds, actions, results, profit, and gain done in true partnership with Christ as the vine. Also, there are two life streams as a result, the Lord living his life through ours and our yielding to what is eternal. Okay, so this is more about growing the fruit in your Christian life than it is about gathering really, truly the harvest of people, okay? Do not grumble against your brothers, right? This is a feeling that is internal and expressed, and thus a groan of frustration escapes. The groan is because of the pressure being exerted forward like that of childbirth. Figuratively, to feel the pressure from what is coming on with intensity. It says, do not grumble against one another. Against is down from a higher to a lower plane to an end point. Against, down from, day by day, by the way of, from two words meaning opposite and bring to completion. So don't continually drip and be irritating to people. That's what it's saying, okay? Condemned is to judge properly in a court of law or privately. To make judgment in favor of, or in this case, rejecting, to properly pick out by, separating. To separate and choose out like the grain from the shaft. So if you're going to be an irritant, you will have to face judgment over that. Then it talks about suffering. It says the prophets are an example of suffering and patience, right? What kind of suffering did the prophets do? That's what we're asking. So this is kakapathia. This is like the whole basket full of all sorts of different issues. It's not a specific kind. But what do we remember from this one? That God's purposes are higher. There's a benefit from it in the eternal that we may not understand. And then it says, blessed are those who endure. And this one was hupomone. So under heavy pressure, God allows you the power to keep going and persevere. All right, then we've got Galatians 2:2, physically going and sharing the gospel. I went up by revelation and communicated to them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to those who were of reputation, lest by any means I might run, or I had run in vain. As a leader, his mission was to go communicate the gospel. That's what that's saying. Then I have an honorable mention about a physical going, or a physical suffering, or a physical thing you have to go through as a human in order to get to the end. And it's an honorable mention, and it's Jesus talking to his disciples. And in Luke 22:46, you can read the passage around it. It says, to even his apostles, he called them to skip sleep and pray with him and watch. They didn't. He said to them, why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation. So he's saying, get up, pray, put some effort into this. I'm going to go put my life on the line. Could you stay awake? And that's really, as a leader, I've been through this. Many of you who've been watching me forever, you know, I go through times when I'm just dragged through the mud. I am so tired, but I still get up, record the video, get it out, because me being exhausted has nothing to do with the mission. The mission still is the mission. And I know that the Lord will restore me and give me rest should I get to the point where like I'm going to fall over tired. Okay? I mean, I've gone days with almost no sleep. and I'm always sustained through it. And sometimes I'm happier through it. I see a lot more in the in-betweens behind the veil, that's for sure. So these verses are just pointing out that there is a physical cost to the spiritual commitment. You're actually getting up and going. You're actually sharing the gospel. You're actually exhausted because you're praying in such a heavy labor, okay? So here's the chart that pulls it all together. Leading is being a living sacrifice. The faithful and the wise teach the Bible to the end, and that's parallel with you physically go and share the gospel. Those are the same basic concepts. How is this done? To be a living sacrifice. What does that mean? So there's 3 different things from these verses that it means. Sacrifice while serving the church, always laboring for you in prayer, patiently enduring as good soldiers. So, is this possible? There are examples of suffering and patience through the prophets. And we know by Job's perseverance that God's intended end is compassion and mercy. So we should focus on hope. So talking about being a living sacrifice, it's not as scary as some of you want it to be. Okay? There is going to be some physical cost. There will be some people who will sacrifice their life in these end times. Okay? But the majority of what we're supposed to do as a disciplined Christian, and then marrying that with what these words mean, we are supposed to put a lot of effort, physical effort, and skip sleep if that's needed to get it done so that we can spread the gospel. That's our real task as being a living sacrifice. We're giving up our wishes for how we'd like our day to go so that we can do God's wishes, which is spread the gospel. Okay? So I hope that's helpful to you, and see you next time.